March can be a wonderfully deceptive month. We see the first signs of spring, snowdrops and daffodils are pushing through, buds are bursting on the trees, and rhubarb is bravely emerging. But as any UK gardener knows, March weather can be incredibly changeable. We can have spells of mild sunshine, followed by sharp frosts, biting winds, and even snow. These fluctuating temperatures and unpredictable conditions can make direct sowing outdoors a real gamble in early spring. That's why module sowing under cover is our secret weapon for getting ahead and ensuring strong, healthy seedlings, ready to plant out when the weather truly warms up later on. So are you ready to get started with your March seed sowing? Let's dive into week 1 and those seeds we need to sow indoors for warmth. This week, in early March, we're focusing on sowing seeds that need a good amount of warmth to germinate. We'll be starting them off indoors, giving them the cozy conditions they need to get going. First up, we have tomatoes. These delicious cherry tomatoes are a garden favourite. Tomato seeds need warmth to germinate, so we're sowing them indoors in modules. Make a small dibble hole, sow 1 seed per module, and gently cover with compost. The key for tomatoes at this stage is a warm, sunny windowsill to encourage germination. Moving on to something a little different, we have Celeriac Giant Prague. Celeriac seeds are very small, so we'll be multi-sowing these, placing a pinch of seeds into each module. Celeriac needs a long growing season, so starting them indoors now gives them a head start. They need warmth to germinate, so keep them in a warm indoor location, though they don't need direct scorching sun like tomatoes and melons. Next, for a real taste of summer, we're sowing a couple of varieties of melon, Malaga F1 and Hale's Best. Melons need even more warmth than tomatoes to get started. Sow melon seeds in modules in the same way as tomatoes, 1 seed per module. To provide that extra warmth, we'll place the module tray inside a propagator unit. This will create a humid and consistently warm environment, perfect for melon germination. Finally, for week 1, we're sowing onion variety Sturen from seed. While we'll be planting onion sets later in March, starting onions from seed indoors now gives us a wider choice of varieties. Like Celeriac, onion seeds are small, so we're multi-sowing a pinch per module. Onions need a bright indoor location to thrive as seedlings. A very sunny windowsill or even under grow lights is ideal. Excellent work. Week 1 seeds are sown and getting their warm start indoors. Now we're moving on to week 2, and those vegetables we can sow under cover in the polytunnel or cold frame. Here, we can sow a range of vegetables that are happy with slightly cooler conditions and will benefit from the protection offered by growing under cover. First, for week 2, we have broccoli green sprouting. This is a fantastic cut and come again type of broccoli, giving you lots of delicious spears over a long season. Sow broccoli seeds in modules, 1 seed per module. Broccoli seedlings need good ventilation to prevent diseases, so make sure your polytunnel or cold frame is well ventilated, especially on milder days. Next, we're sowing cabbage Caraflex F1. This is a pointed cabbage, known for its sweet flavour and crisp texture. Sow cabbage seeds in modules, 1 seed per module. Cabbages prefer well-drained compost, so avoid overwatering at this stage. For a reliable and tasty cauliflower, we're sowing cauliflower Igloo. Sow cauliflower seeds in modules, 1 seed per module. When watering your cauliflower seedlings, use a watering can with a fine rose to avoid disturbing the delicate seedlings and ensure even moisture. For fresh salads, we're sowing lettuce variety Little Gem. Lettuce seeds are very small, so we'll multi-sow these into a tray to start with, and prick them out later, transplanting them to modules when large enough. Lettuce prefers cooler conditions for germination, so place your module trays in a slightly shadier spot within your polytunnel or cold frame, or in a cooler part of your garden if using a cold frame. And finally, for week 2, we have spinach Helios F1. Spinach is another cool season crop that's perfect for sowing under cover in March. Multi-sow spinach seeds in modules. Like lettuce, spinach also prefers a cooler location for germination, so provide some shade if your polytunnel or cold frame gets very warm. Halfway through March, and we've got a great range of vegetables sown under cover. In weeks 3 and 4, we'll be looking at even hardier varieties that can cope with the cooler conditions of late March. Let's continue. For colourful roots, we're sowing beetroot bolt hardy. Bolt hardy is a reliable and early variety, perfect for spring sowing. Although they are actually clusters of seeds, I like to multi-sow 4 to 5 per module. They will happily grow as a bunch, and you can twist one off when needed, leaving the rest to continue growing. While beetroot is hardy, keeping an eye on the temperature in your polytunnel or cold frame is still important. Avoid extremes of heat and cold. Next, we're sowing broad beans. Broad beans are very hardy and can tolerate quite cold conditions, but module sowing gives them protection from pests like mice and pigeons at this early stage. Push the large broad bean seeds into modules, 1 seed per module. Have some fleece on hand to cover your broad bean modules if particularly cold weather is forecast. For sweet and tender pods, we're sowing pea sugar bon. This is a delicious mange tout pea, where you eat the whole pod. Peas have long roots, so use taller modules or root trainers if you have them, to give the roots plenty of space to develop. So 1 to 4 pea seeds per module. For a quick and easy crop, we're sowing radish variety French Breakfast 2. Radishes are incredibly fast growing and perfect for filling in gaps. Sow radish seeds in modules, but only sow them shallowly, as they germinate best near the surface. You can even use shallower modules for radishes, as they don't need deep root runs at this stage. Next we have turnip Tokyo cross. These are quick maturing, mild and delicious turnips, perfect for spring salads. Turnip seeds are small, so multi-sow them, a pinch per module. Turnips need moist compost to germinate well, so ensure your modules are kept consistently damp, but not waterlogged. And finally, for week 4 is a good time to be planting onion Sturen sets. I did mine back in autumn, but using onion sets is a super easy way to grow onions. Simply make a hole in your well-drained garden soil and plant each onion set, pointy end upwards, leaving the tip just showing above the surface. You can also direct sow spring onions at this time if you wish, for a quick and early crop of salad onions. Let's take a closer look at the module sowing process. We'll use beetroot as our example, but the technique is the same for most of the seeds we've sown in modules. First, you'll need your module trays, seed compost, your chosen seeds, in this case beetroot, a watering can with a fine rose, and plant labels. Start by filling your module tray with seed compost, gently firming it down. Next, use a dipper or your finger to make a small hole in the center of each module. To the correct depth for your seed type, usually indicated on the seed packet. Place your seeds into the dibble holes. For beetroot, remember I'm multi-sowing, so drop 4 to 5 clusters per module. Gently cover the seeds with a little more compost. Water your modules using a watering can with a fine rose, ensuring you moisten the compost evenly without waterlogging. Finally, don't forget to label your tray clearly with the seed variety and maybe the sowing date. So you've seen how easy module sowing is. But our job isn't quite finished yet. Next, we'll look at temperature management in your polytunnel or cold frame, and then take a moment to appreciate the garden in March. Temperature management is crucial when growing under cover in March. On sunny days, temperatures can rise rapidly, even if it's cold outside. It's important to ventilate your polytunnel or cold frame by opening vents or doors to prevent overheating and reduce humidity, which can lead to diseases. Remember to close vents again in the late afternoon to retain some warmth overnight. The chickens are enjoying the fresh air and foraging for tasty morsels in the garden. They play their part in the garden ecosystem, helping to control pests and even providing us with valuable manure for compost. I hope you're finding this March seed sowing guide helpful. If you are, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps other gardeners find this video. And if you want to see more vegetable gardening guides throughout the year, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. More sows. So that's your guide to March seed sowing here in the UK. By starting seeds indoors and under cover now, you'll be well on your way to a thriving vegetable garden and delicious early harvests. Don't be daunted by the changeable weather. Embrace module sowing and get those seeds sown this March to look forward to a fantastic growing season. Thank you so much for watching and happy gardening. Do check out the videos on screen now for more gardening tips and inspiration, and I'll see you in the next video.